What's going on, everyone, and welcome to Mind of Mateo. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you had a great weekend and a great start to your week. I got to go away for the weekend with some friends, do some really great bonding, and to go a little whitewater rafting and enjoy nature, man. We went to a cabin, got to have a great time, and it was such a good experience. I don't get away enough, and one thing I notice is you have to take that time to pull back and to enjoy life and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And it was a great experience that I'm very thankful for the people around me and the people that I have in my life right now. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and talk about the reason for this episode. And the episode is titled Conflict. And the reason why it's titled that is during this trip, I actually had an interesting conversation with one of my friends, and it was really, really cool to see this conversation unfold, because we had a kind of differencing in beliefs on a certain subject, and it was really cool to be able to respectfully, I don't know if I call it a debate, but it was a conversation, and I really appreciated hearing the other person's side and their thoughts, and seeing how they think about the same topic, and how two people that are both educated and bright people can come from two different sides of things and discuss and articulate their viewpoints. And really, I think it builds more camaraderie. I think it helps builds a deeper relationship with people, because now I'm able to listen and understand the way this person thinks. They're able to listen and understand the way that I think, and we may not need to agree on everything, but we understand each other, and I appreciate the nuggets that they bring, and hopefully they appreciate the nuggets I bring to the table, and we can learn from it. And that's the whole thing, is always being in a state of learning, of not being completely concrete in your beliefs. It doesn't mean that you bend with the wind and fold, but you're willing to hear out other people and actually listen to them. And I'm always able to do that. I'm always making sure that I don't have too big of an ego, and that I put myself in check, and I'm able to always listen. So it was really cool. It's also different because I'm normally not a person that embraces conflict. I'm not. I typically, my nature is to try to keep things light, try to keep things positive and fun, and that's for many different reasons. Just to be transparent, that's for many different reasons. I think it has a lot to do with some of the things I went through in my past. I think it's also easy for me. It's easy for me to be kind of a goof and clown around and joke, and so I default to that. But the one thing that I'm noticing right now, I'm kind of in a period of self-reflecting, and that's because I have a baby on the way, and it has caused me to think about everything that I've got going on in my life. It has prompted me to start looking at myself, because here I am. I'm this man that's going to be teaching, a son or a daughter how to be. And I remember being a kid and soaking up everything. They see everything, the body language, the way you say things, how you do things, and everything like that. And so I wanna better myself to be the best parent that I can be. And I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the reflection that this period of my life has brought. So, like I said, I'm not much of a person for conflict in the past, but this has caused me to really look at interactions, look at how people handle things. And while some people may not handle things great, I can understand now why some people are more direct. And it's because they want to get to the heart of the matter, right? And they're not afraid of stepping into a little bit of conflict or debate, or I don't know if the word would be discourse, as long as it's in a respectful manner. Because through that conflict, they're able to hash out some sort of agreement or understanding for each other. And I'm starting to see that now. And while I'm still a bit uncomfortable voicing my opinions, and stepping into some sort of conflict, I'm learning to be more comfortable in it and to embrace it and to actually be okay with putting my viewpoints out there and not being agreed with. And the reason for that is because I'm also coming from it as a student. As, hey, I've done a little bit of research. Somebody, speaking about a topic. Well, here's why I agree or don't agree. Here's my thoughts. Here's why, this, that, and the other, right? So that's kind of my viewpoint from it, because I know now there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Put yourself out there, and as long as you're coming from it, coming to it from a point of learning and a point of actually wanting to listen to the other person, and a point of a respectful conversation, even though there's conflict, there's always going to be a good point from it. So I just wanted to kind of go over the definition of conflict and also the definition of debate. So dictionary.com defines the verb conflict as to come into collision or disagreement, be contradictory, at variance, or in opposition, to clash. Once again, to come into collision or disagreement, be contradictory, at variance, or in opposition, clash. And the definition of debate as a verb is to argue or discuss a question, issue, or the like. I mean, that kind of sums it all up as far as exactly what I'm talking about. There's a saying in the Bible that iron sharpens iron. I really like it because it also depicts conflict when two people come, or two parties, or two ideas come into conflict. They come into a clash with each other. In my mind, what I see a lot of time is when this is done in a productive way, in a respectful way, and you're not just trying to beat the other person down from either side to believe what you want them to believe, right? You're not dogmatic. But when you're actually trying to explain to somebody your point of view, and they're trying to explain their point of view, and both parties are listening, and things can get a little testy. I mean, I'm not saying they can't, but it's for the purpose of a strengthening, of an understanding, of seeking truth, right? When things are done in that manner, I feel like that clash produces a stronger product, and it also burns off the excess, the nonsense, the extra that doesn't need to be there, right? Because whenever you go into a clash, in the form of like a debate or a conversation or something like that, right? You're able to very quickly figure out what is and what isn't. There's some arguments that people will make that are easily debunked, and sometimes they're not easily debunked. And so you start to see what is the truth of that matter when you're speaking to two, people that are maybe educated in a certain area. And so I've learned that I'm a highly agreeable person most of the time. And I'm starting to shift that. I'm starting to look at being agreeable just because you're trying to avoid some kind of weird situation, some kind of conflict, or don't be agreeable just to be agreeable, because agreeable will get you more of what you already have in most times, but it also gets you stepped on, right? So you want to embrace bringing up your opinions, bringing up your thought processes, especially, let's say, like at work. Most of the times at work, I would just go with the flow. I may voice an opinion, but if it got smacked down, that was it. I really wouldn't say anything, right? And I noticed how I could have done much more with that, right? Because as long as the goal is to make something better than it is, to strengthen it, to see how you can improve it, then you just can't go wrong. You have to push forward for that. You have to learn how to lay out a case that strengthens the viewpoint that you're looking for. You also need to learn how to pick it apart to make sure that your view is correct, right? Because you want to be able to argue against your viewpoint as much as you can argue for it, if not much more, because then you'll get to see where the weaknesses are and start to really figure out the truth. So I just wanted to go over a few talking points that might help people, that have also helped me right now. One of the little talking points that I have is conflict is not a bad thing when done to make something stronger or better. I've already talked about that. If you're coming at it from a positive, you're coming at it from a point of really trying to make something better or trying to understand something better or learning, and you're not coming into it just to shove your viewpoint down somebody's throat, then it's a win-win. And if you have two people that are like that, I mean, it's an awesome thing. You have to also approach this conflict or debate in a respectful demeanor, right? You may not have to agree with the person, but you got to respect them. And in the case of me and my friend that we had this conversation, I know we love each other, man. It's like we're like brothers. And so, I highly respect this person, and there's nothing but love. So when you have two people like that they're coming from a really good place, you're able to learn so much. I know I took away so much from that conversation, and it got me thinking about my own viewpoint, even thinking, making sure that what I'm saying is as truthful as I can possibly make it with the knowledge that I have, right? Because you're always going to have something that you don't know, but making sure that when you're speaking out of a place of thoughtfulness and as of the truth that you have available to you, and then being willing to have some kind of open discourse about that. It's huge. I've learned how huge it is in my life. The other little talking point I want to talk about is actually listen to the other side's argument. Legitimately try and understand their point of view. That's another one. Like I've noticed that when you go into a conversation with the mindset of I'm gonna disprove what they're saying, or I'm gonna go tit for tat. I'm gonna here are my rebuttals. You're playing chess. You're 7 moves ahead. It's very easy to get into that dogmatic kind of frame of mind. And I'm all for arguing your viewpoint and standing strong on your beliefs. I believe that you need to do that. You can't just sway with the wind. But at the same time, you actually have to listen to what the other person is saying and not try and pre-interpret what they're going to say. And the other thing is you want to keep your emotions in check, because the emotion will chip away at your reasoning. I've seen this in my life personally. There is a time and a place for emotion. It's not bad to be emotional about something, but when you're trying to have a discussion with someone, that's not the greatest time to have a bunch of emotion, because what can happen is you get so fired up, you have such an emotionally charged response that sometimes your reasoning can kind of go in the background and things can be said that don't really, they're not really needed in the conversation. So there's a time and a place for emotion, but when you're in this kind of this debate or this conversation where some of the beliefs may be conflicting, or maybe you're trying to talk with your boss and figure out a plan of action as to how you get promoted in your job, or you're trying to talk to your spouse or your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, that there's some things that you don't agree with that they do, or they don't agree with you, and you're trying to figure out a commonality, a middle ground, a way that you guys can move forward. You want to kind of keep those emotions in check, because the emotions are going to get you in trouble. They're going to start veering you off, and whenever you start adding charged emotions to a situation, you're going to get more emotionally charged response, and it's just going to keep adding and building up, right? And then the last one, I've already said this a bunch of times, but don't be dogmatic. There's no point in having a debate if neither side is willing to adjust viewpoints in the face of facts. You can't go into a debate where your mind is made. You can't go into a conversation where you've already 100% made up your mind that, that one side is right or the other side is right, or both sides believe that they're right and there's no room for error. There's no point in having a conversation at that point. There's no point in having a talk, because what's the point? You're just going to be dogmatic and trying to shove your ideas down their throat. They're going to be dogmatic and try to shove their ideas down your throat, and it's just gonna lead to either nothing productive or some emotionally charged discussion that really doesn't go anywhere. So just come from it from a place of trying to learn. being willing to actually hear people. You can't go wrong with that. So yeah, guys, that's really what I wanted to talk about. I don't want to make these episodes too long. I'm hitting right about 15 minutes, which is right around the sweet spot. I want to keep these short enough where you can extract some goodness from it, but you're not here listening all the time. I found that I love podcasts. I love educational YouTubers, political, all that kind of stuff. But I do see how these hour, 2 hour, 45 minutes, 3 hour long videos and podcasts, even though they're educational, they become a form of entertainment. So I want to keep these, at least for this this kind of podcast and this layout, Mind of Mateo, I want to keep these 10, 20 minutes, maybe 25 max. I want to give you the value that I feel will help and let you guys take that and go on with your day. So I love you guys so much. Don't be afraid to voice your opinions. Also, make sure you're listening. Don't be afraid of conflict when it's done in a respectful manner and you're looking for truth. All right? Love y'all. Have a good one. Talk to you later. And until the next time.